fundamental. I totally don't know what to say.
All right, you magnificent bastards, this is it once and for all. We shall determine this loaded issue.
The smoothest whiskeys.
Ooh. All right, on three. 1, 2, 3.
Smooth.
What? So why
Shocking.
is the word smooth when it comes to whiskey? In whiskey communities, why is this kind of an issue that people have strong feelings and opinions about?
You want me to give them the benefit of the doubt?
Yeah.
Best interpretation is that it's lazy. When there are plenty of words to describe whiskey,
Yeah.
smooth is a shortcut.
Now, as you pour, all right,
gonna start
the
with
number
number
10. What is the number 10? Because we pulled the Whiskey Tribe, we pulled the community of magnificent bastards. What are the 10 smoothest whiskeys
However you describe that.
you've ever had? And then in the comments, how do you describe smooth? Because very often, I mean, you can pour while I say words.
All right, we're gonna start with MACALLAN 12.
Right.
Because of course, MACALLAN made the list of smooth whiskeys.
Yeah. Now, this is number 10 on the list of the most smooth whiskeys according to whiskey lovers in the Whiskey Tribe. And in the comments, we asked them to, in your own words, describe what smooth means.
Now first, MACALLAN,
Scotch, very,
Scotch.
very popular brand.
kind of malty and a little bit peppery, but really what you're getting is that kind of sherry cask.
Yes, the
Beautiful fruit.
the dark, ripe fruits.
Right.
And the thing with MACALLAN, if I remember correctly, it's very often a gorgeous nose.
Right.
Beautiful nose. And then the taste, it's more subdued than what the nose would lead you to believe.
Subdued would help though, because like Paul C said, it goes down, this is his definition of smooth, goes down without a kick or a punch or anything that makes you pause or wince.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah,
With that definition, I'd
Yep.
say it meets the criteria for smooth.
but I would say smooth for Scotch.
Yeah.
Because I know Irish and bourbon drinkers who would not consider this smooth.
No, that is true. What was the number 9?
Green spot.
As you pour the green spot, Daniel.
Yeah.
I think
What's the proof?
we should also acknowledge the role of proof.
Yes,
when it comes to
absolutely.
smooth. Because if we're talking about the bite, if we're talking about the feeling, we're talking about the aggressiveness, the pointiness, the sharpness. That's the proof. How much alcohol by like the ABV, the alcohol by volume, how much the percentage is something that can bite you.
Now you and I have had higher proof whiskeys that we would argue go down pretty smoothly.
Right.
But I think we might be talking from a place of being used to higher proof.
Right. That
Right.
MACALLAN 12 is a 43% alcohol by volume.
This is going to be in the same ballpark, probably
is-
46.
This is
40?
40.
I thought it was higher for some reason.
That is 40%. That's the floor. That's as
Way
low
more nose.
as low as you can get with proof and still call it whiskey.
But see, that's sort of like honey and coconut and
Yeah.
green apple.
yeah. This is a very popular Irish whiskey.
I could agree with that one. So
And-
Louis D said, how do you describe smooth? He describes it as, that shit went down like water. Now, I wouldn't say this went down like water, but there was no struggle.
I think we're going to see a few more Irish on here because I think as a category,
Yeah.
the nature of Irish whiskey,
Often no smoke.
if there was a category that was designed to be the quote-unquote smooth type of whiskey, I think Irish may be the absolute leader.
what else I
we'll
would
see what the
argue?
list shows us.
I would argue that smooth is going to be more in the purview of pot still whiskey. Specifically, even though pot still is also responsible for more flavors,
Right.
because the oil content creates the mouth feel
Yeah.
that will make things feel like they're smooth. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we're going to go with numbers 7 on the list, or 8 on the list.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
You're going to need to dump that glass. I guess that's one way to do it.
It's a green spot, dude. Come on.
Jesus.
I think you hate whiskey. This has been elaborate. This entire
Have you not
this
been-
entire venture is an elaborate ruse. You don't like whiskey. You are in fact a beer guy. Most people don't know that.
I totally don't know what to say.
He doesn't drink beer.
Yeah, I'm so like my brain's like misfiring.
Does not compute. What do I do with that?
It totally froze. All right, so this is Jameson. I was surprised that Jameson showed up on the list at all, but I wasn't surprised that Jameson Stout cask showed up on the list because the addition of that stout barrel finish adds that creamy layer.
Oh, you poured. Good on you. Okay.
And I could see that classic Jameson, you know, just the Irish whiskey buttered cookie note.
Well, because to your point, Jameson is one of the biggest Irish whiskey brands, but also whiskey brands in general. And if we're talking about a list for smoothness, then yes, that stout cask, that stout beer cask finish, it adds this additional creamy layer into an already pretty creamy. Whiskey.
Pretty creamy, yeah. So I would say, so Alan M said no alcohol burn, which we already said. No, a lot of people said this, no punch in the face.
Yeah.
Or strong flavors, and more importantly for this one, no rough edges.
That is just super creamy, rounded off. If you like Jameson, I would urge you to try out the cask made.
Yeah, it's like a milkshake version of Jameson.
It starts to pull it a little bit away from that classic Irish shortbread cookie, and just a little bit more into just a sweet cream.
Okay, we're gonna go next, and I gotta say, I was surprised. I would have thought two things. One, that Japanese whiskey would have dominated the list with Irish.
I understand why you would think that,
but accessibility is a problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think if more people were able to get their hands on Japanese whiskey, then it would have much more of a presence. What do you got?
Well, what we got was the Hibiki Harmony.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not surprised it showed up on the list. I'm surprised that it showed up as low as it did. So this showed up at 7 on the list.
Okay.
And we're gonna swap it out. I love this bottle, man.
Ooh.
These are one of the bottles, I don't really keep bottles anymore, but I do when it comes to these guys.
Yeah,
I end up using them for decanters. I strip the labels off.
Infinity bottles, they are like a big, giant glass cork.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So to your point though, this can go toe to toe with a lot of Irish when it comes to smoothness, but the history of Japanese whiskey, it's coming from the tradition of Scotch.
Yeah. Absolutely, but I would say this falls in the tradition of blended Scotch, but without a lot of the heavy Highland malty flavors.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, I mean, it's malt obviously, right? But lighter, more approachable.
The Japanese whiskey is a little bit tricky because their rules for whiskey are very, very loose. It's kind of, you know, whenever you buy something as Japanese whiskey,
it's basically self-policing.
It may or may not be actually from Japan, but the ones that are actually doing it in earnest, it's often an interesting exercise in what happens whenever people are trained in the Scotch tradition, but then they take the refinement in the craft of Japanese culture and apply it to those traditions. Then you get some beautiful whiskeys.
And this is a good example. A lot of citrus and lemon zest and mixed in with the vanilla cream. Oh, whoa, there's a little bit of an ashy finish.
There is an ashy finish. I had never seen that before.
Until we compared it to
the AB.
Smooth.
Yeah, the comparative tastings, if you're trying to, you know, figure out, you know, specific notes and flavors in a whiskey, we strongly suggest A-B comparisons, basically comparative tasting, because it's hard to pick out stuff in a vacuum, but whenever you can compare it to something in another glass, A-B, then you can start to more clearly and easily pick out specific flavors and notes.
We're gonna move to number 6 on the list. This one.
Actually, I think that's the most I've ever, I like Hibiki.
That's the most ash.
That's the most I've ever found ash.
Yes.
And I think the most I've enjoyed it coming off the heels of a budget Jameson cask mixed up.
I totally agree. Okay, I gotta say, this one was, Jesus. You all right over there? No.
Son of a bitch.
All right, so I was not surprised that this one showed up. MICHTER'S American.
Right.
In the American category, we only had a couple, and this was one of them. Again, not surprising.
Yeah, bourbon and in rye. Very often you're gonna get a note, because I think it's the new oak barrel.
Yeah.
It's the first contact the spirit has with the new oak barrel. It's gonna pull out a lot of big flavors, and with that big flavor from the wood, doesn't necessarily carry with it rounded off, matured, soft, smooth flavors. You're gonna get some impact there. So in this case,
you got used oak involved.
Yes.
You maybe have some things blended into it involved.
Yes.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Isaac W said, you know, minimal to no burn when it goes down the hatch.
Yep.
That's the thing. So what everyone keeps repeating is the alcohol's disguised, and the flavor profile, while maybe complex, is not a struggle.
And again, we're still at 41.7% ABV,
Right.
that's 83.4 proof. When it comes to the role of proof in smoothness, rule of thumb is the vast majority of the time, if you really want a quote unquote smooth whiskey, you're gonna be in the 40% ABV. But that isn't a hard and fast rule.
No.
We have had, you know, whiskeys
50
that are,
plus.
Yeah, 50 plus, getting towards like 60% cask strength.
But I think the alcohol is holding on to the heavier oil compounds, and so the heavier flavor profiles bury the alcohol.
Yes. So basically, the more room, the richness and the robustness and the thickness of those flavors take up, the less room that the alcohol bite has. But general rule, if you're just looking for easy sipping, you're talking about a lower proof whiskey. This episode is brought to you by Magic Spoon.
Adds a trivial amount of sugar. It says 0 grams.
0 grams of sugar. What?
How is that possible? This is delicious.
Touch your new box.
Get the hell away from me. This is my box. You don't tell me what to do. You don't tell me what to do either.
I want the cocoa.
0 grams of sugar per serving, 3 grams of net carbs per serving, 11 grams of protein per serving.
What?
No gluten or grains.
Wow.
This box contains more protein than a dozen eggs.
What?
And fewer net carbs than a typical fruit smoothie. So far, I think I like the blueberry.
Blueberry's the best.
You have it.
Ooh. This is really fruity. Oh.
Yeah.
All right, you've got jangle. That's enough. It's healthy and it's delicious, and there's multiple flavors.
That one. Oh.
Give that back.
And this one. Last flavor. Yes. Okay. It's delicious.
We hadn't tried it until just now. It's really good. All right, Tribe. You just saw us trying Magic Spoon for the first time, deciding if we're going to take them on as a sponsor. Obviously we did, because obviously we loved it. You can go to magicspoon.com/whiskey to grab a variety pack, try it for yourself, and use the promo code whiskey, that's whiskey with an E, at checkout to get free shipping. And Magic Spoon told us if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money guaranteed, no questions asked.
Number 5 on our list is Eagle Rare.
Okay.
Now, I was actually kind of surprised of all the bourbons that could possibly have shown up, that this is the one that showed up.
I am surprised as well, and I'm going into this with the tasting framework of I'm looking for the smooth as defined by the MBs.
Can I tell you the one thing I appreciate about this list?
Yeah.
From our people?
Yeah.
Every one of these is accessible.
Oh yeah.
Every one of these is reasonably accessible at a local liquor store.
Oh, that does? There's nothing sharp or
I don't know,
spice.
there's more herbal notes to this bourbon than most bourbons.
You're saying herbal, and herbal is like often a note in rye, and it comes
Yeah.
with this spiciness
Yes.
that doesn't often lend itself to this idea of smoothness.
Yes, this is the closest we've got, I think, to a rye showing up on this list.
We're creeping up a little bit. This is 45% ABV.
I wonder how many people are psychosomatically pulled in on Eagle Rare because it's just called rare, and you think fine whiskey, and then you think you do the domino effect of I'm drinking something fancy, it must be approachable and smooth.
So,
you know what I mean?
And here's the other thing. We talked about the role of proof. Let's talk about the role of age. We're talking about rareness. The older whiskeys are going to be rarer whiskeys. How does age factor into the smoothness, the rounding off of a whiskey as it matures?
Here's the irony.
Yeah.
It depends on the country. When you're using used barrels,
Yeah.
like Scotland, the longer it sits in the barrel, the more a lot of certain things round down and other flavors ramp up. But when you're using new oak, totally different flavors round down and totally different flavors round up.
Yeah.
And so you get a 20-year-old Scotch, you're gonna get the very definition often. The very definition of everything we're saying is smooth.
Yeah.
You get a 20-year-old bourbon,
No.
you get the opposite.
Yes.
Because the barrel tannin and all the dominant wood notes
Yeah.
have eclipsed everything.
Well, and then it becomes more and more like wood impact,
Yeah.
and you start to get towards like these bitter notes, these tannins.
Astringency, yeah.
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
the opposite of smooth, right?
Yeah.
Especially
So-
with bourbons, because a lot of the things going into new oak in America
Yeah.
are column still,
Oh.
right? So you don't get the pot still, oily.
We referenced pot stills earlier. We're talking about column stills now. There's an episode we did on this channel, the difference between pot still versus column still. What's the difference? It's going to be helpful to get deeper into that. What is the next whiskey on the smooth list
The
here?
next whiskey on the smooth list, which rang in at 4, is Glenfiddich 12.
If I remember correctly, Glenfiddich was also very, very popular in terms of top 10 whiskeys for beginners.
Yes, accessible.
On our other channel, our Whiskey Vault channel.
Which
It's
would
our
make sense.
our whiskey review channel. We'll link that up here.
Yeah, it was Brad D. said, smooth is all the flavors working together to produce a uniformity.
Okay.
So it had nothing to do with alcohol and nothing to do with no aggression. It just said a cohesive blend where there's no outliers in the flavor profile. And I could absolutely see how, even though this isn't boring, it is a cohesive flavor.
Yeah. There's like a a heather in there. I always feel self-conscious saying heather because it's not an American note. But the moment I ever smelled natural, real heather, it's like, oh my gosh, I've smelled that in whiskey so many times.
But it is. This is a flavor that it's very cohesive,
You know what, though?
tied together.
If we're calling smooth like a lack of bite or burn or sharpness,
Yeah, this.
I could chug this
Yeah.
like bottled water.
Yeah, but not the way you could Green Spot.
You think?
No.
Let's have a contest.
Yeah, let's do it.
No, we're definitely not doing
Wait,
that. Alex,
look.
the moment you shout something from the other side of the camera, you start.
I'm the captain.
Look at me. I am the captain. So Glenfiddich, gosh, that is a very smooth scotch.
I don't know that I would have put this on my list.
Okay, here we go. Glenmorangie.
Glenmorangie.
Yeah.
Now this I get.
Okay.
Because for me, Glenfiddich has a little more character
Okay.
than Glenmorangie 10.
Okay.
I like Glenmorangie 10. This is not a qualitative difference.
Another scotch. You gonna make it?
Your riffing dialogue is getting more and more basic.
It's a scotch.
It's so good. It's so hard to contribute. But it's like, it's getting so basic.
Hell, God, of all the people in the world that need to understand my role is the simple, accessible shit for the new people. Why do you not understand? I have to say the introductory, elementary, rudimentary bullshit.
A few moments later.
So this is a scotch.
Is it a space side?
It's probably a space side. Or a Highland. They're the same. It's the same thing. Don't worry about it.
Timothy L says,
Get it together, Whittington.
smooth is a sensation, not a flavor.
Oh, so, you know what?
I was giving you a transition.
Okay, so I was watching Eric Waite, another YouTuber, a friend of ours. He's visited us a handful of times. Good guy. He's a wine sommelier. He was doing like some type of like a Zoom chat with another whiskey channel. Somewhere in that conversation, somebody brought up the word smooth. He was like, I don't have a problem with the word smooth. Smooth isn't flavor. Smooth is texture.
I get that.
The official context I would posit for the word smooth. Is that newcomers, noobs, beginners prioritize texture. People that are past that, they're getting deeper into it, they're becoming enthusiasts, nerds. They begin to prioritize flavor.
That is the best description that I've ever heard.
So people who are in these, they have some experience under their belt, and they're exploring flavors, and whenever somebody says, such and such is smooth, it feels like, well, that's not a flavor. It's like, well, you're in a conversation where you are looking for flavors, but they're not there yet.
Right.
That's why in the whiskey tribe, the best whiskey is the whiskey you like to drink the way you like to drink it. You don't shit on them, you meet them where they're at. And if they're in that place where the flavors are a byproduct of something that happens after, they decide whether or not it hurts them. The texture is too pointy or bitey or sharp.
And on that category, Glenmorangie 10 is kicking ass.
It really is.
It's butter and cream and citrus. All right, so Jameson is number 2. I am shocked, I tell you, that Jameson beat out the Stout cask.
You got to keep in mind, whenever we do these crowdsourced lists,
Accessibility.
Yes.
Yeah, but you don't think Stout is accessible these days?
I think the number of people that have ever even had the thought to reach beyond the classic.
Yeah, I buy that.
Yeah.
I buy that.
No, but I'm saying though, if you enjoy the classic, they're not sponsoring us.
No.
But I just know anecdotally, the people that like the Jameson, they often very much enjoy the Caskmates.
Yeah,
the Stout.
absolutely. So Thomas N said, the Norwegian term, and there's no way I'm going to pronounce this correctly. The Norwegian term letspid means more or less the same as smooth, but it's more descriptive because it means easily vomited.
Wow. So it's smooth coming and smooth going.
Yeah.
The number 1 smoothest whiskey according to Magnificent Bastards in the whiskey tribe.
Yeah.
Redbreast 12. And
But
Daniel, if I recall,
not boring.
this won by a huge margin.
Yeah, it would have won first and second place by numbers.
What are we like at 43?
Yep.
40%? 40% ABV, 80 proof on the floor.
But smell that. There's like biscuit and zest.
And getting back to the point, this is a pot still whiskey.
More character.
More flavor, more richness, more body.
A little bit of that darker fruit, but not heavy. Like a light fruit.
And it still clings on to that that classic Irish shortbread cookie note. It's a beautiful balancing act right there.
A little more bitey in character than Jameson
And I think
in mouthfeel.
But it doesn't go so far in that direction that a newcomer would get into this.
No, not a struggle.
Going from Jameson to this,
Right.
they would find more thickness.
Yes.
More, it's like, wow, there's a lot
Girth.
more. Smooth.
This is an Irish whiskey, by the way.
We bop and hippity hop. I'm as happy as I can be.